Chris Town here. Let me try and explain about the rule of law, because a lot of people don't seem to understand what the rule of law is, and they don't. Well, today they don't seem to care that it might even be ignored. They seem to see ignoring the rule of law as a sort of right if the law doesn't seem to agree with your philosophy or policies. Two examples. I mean, Tommy Robinson, first time he was jailed for contempt of court. It was a simple reason. We protect the court proceedings right up until the end, and even after the court proceeding has ended. I mean, you don't get an interview out of the defendant. You can't go and interview the defendant. The defendant is found guilty, and they are brought before the court, and they are sentenced. I was watching quite a lot of these right-wing streams at the time, and watching a bit of Robinson, and we knew he was going to turn up on that day, and we knew what he was going to do. And that was that there were these defendants. I think they were obviously the Pakistani men, and they always go on about. And they had been found guilty of grooming a gang. Sorry, not grooming a gang, but they've been found guilty of grooming a girl or a group of girls, and they were going to be sentenced. So what he tried to do was he tried with his camera to go up to them and, interview or intimidate them. He would say he's going to interview. I'd say it's probably a bit of intimidation as well. And quite rightly, he was arrested for that. And when he was brought before the court, he was given an opportunity to apologise, which he didn't do. He made a comment about he was a journalist just trying to get a story and all this sort of nonsense, which we have the rule of law for a reason. It's to stop things like vigilantism. And a criminal trial is a criminal trial. And you can't approach the defendants. You can't approach the jury. That's tampering. But some people seem to think this tampering's okay. They seem to accuse Starmer of tampering without any real evidence. So he was at the DPP. He must have known about Savile. Oh, he let Savile off. Well, didn't Margaret Thatcher know about Savile? Didn't everybody know about Savile for years? So that's the rule of law, and I think it was right. I think Tommy Robinson was interfering in a trial, and although the outcome of that trial was already known, we don't have that sort of thing in this country, and quite rightly. I mean, I know in America I think they can interview jurors after a trial, but I've never really quite understood what that's all about. Why you would be allowed to interview people. The deterrent for committing an offence is to be found guilty and to be sentenced. So that's the Tommy Robinson issue. And the other one, I've forgotten what I was going to say now. Yeah, Tommy Robinson obviously is one legal issue. Probably Lucy Connolly. Lucy Connolly had her chance, didn't she? Either she was badly legally advised, or she didn't. She didn't take a chance with a jury like the Jones character did. And so now we go from there. Say she had been found guilty, which she was, appealed her sentence, lost, decided to appeal to a higher court, went to the Supreme Court, lost. She then has a right to approach the European Court of Human Rights for them to look at the case. Notice she has a right at this period to go to the Court of Human Rights. Not before. The dichotomy that's being posed by the far right, or expanded by the far right, is that the ECHR is making judgments. Well, the ECR does not make judgments just like that. They don't have people looking out into the affairs of all the countries in Europe, thinking, "Oh, we don't like the look of that. We'll interfere in that." As I say, it's what you call an appellate court. So you only go there if you've lost all stages of the legal process in this country. But people don't seem to understand that, and they also seem to have the attitude that it doesn't matter. And I don't know. I just think the country's heading towards a sort of anarchy. The only good news is that it's been identified that Reform voters are in 5 disparate groups. And that includes everybody from the flag wavers to the sort of people that I know that fairly comfortably well off, fairly middle class, who say they're disillusioned with all sorts of all politics and all political parties, and that they're going to vote for Farage. And I find it strange that they're voting. But these are the same people that voted for Brexit as well. The sort of people who really weren't possibly affected by anything. None of us were really, but the people who really the EU's reach was furthest away from. Not fishermen, they're not farmers, they're not running a business and saying the EU, they're not market trader trying to do, trade in pounds and ounces instead of metric. So, these disparate groups are going to vote for, or may vote for Farage. And apparently these groups are so disparate that there's people who are going to vote for Farage that want the rich to be taxed. Well, good luck with that. You can't see that Farage is going to tax the rich somehow, can you? I don't think he'll put any extra taxes on them at all. In fact, he'll take taxes off them. And I've gone down on record. It may have been a stupid allegation. In fact, I made it up. But are the railways safe under Farage? Are the railways safe? And I gave an example that he could easily cut out rail services through places like Harrietsham, Lenham and Hollingbourne, closing the line at Bearsted, and obviously closing the line at Charing. And a line like the Medway Valley line, which a lot of the time, apart from rush hour, isn't that well used, could easily see swinging cuts in the service pattern or possible closure. Because, when he gets his UK Doge in, then they're going to try and make savings everywhere. And these sort of people, they don't really believe in subsidising the likes of me, who doesn't have a car, to go travelling by public transport. They would say, if he wants to go somewhere, let him pay for taxis at, whatever it was, 2p a minute or whatever. It cost me about £150 to go to Rugby, which is not that far away, but it was saying like tuppence a minute, and it must be more than 75 miles anyway. Anyway, just a few random thoughts, starting with the rule of law, which is something that Thatcher, who most of these people claim to admire. I mean, Thatcher will be turning in her grave at some of this stuff that's going on now. She really would, she'd say about the rule of law is the rule of law. And, didn't she interfere with wouldn't they have accused her of interfering? I don't remember us Labour people accusing her of interfering with the courts all those years ago, when things happened. I mean, can you remember what happened with the fairs in London that Bromley Council, whatever it is, they took the GLC to court because of Ken Livingstone introducing these really cheap fares when I think fares had gone up to about 60 pence to travel like from Victoria to Oxford Circus. Ken Livingstone reduced it to about 20 pence. You could travel quite a bit in London for not that very much money. And I think when he came back as London Mayor, he had flat fares going in between about 2005 or whenever, when Boris took over. There was literally flat fares. I mean, the first time we went to London for a weekend, a friend and I, to see a concert, I think we put 10 quid on one of those Oyster cards when they were just coming in, if it was called Oyster then. And we had so many journeys on the tube. It was absolutely ridiculous. I think we went from Acton to Wembley, and I think we got charged something like 50 pence. So what happened was there was an appeal, and the GLC were allowed to bring in fares. The court decided that what had been decided to cut the fares was not balanced. That it was just a statement had been made, let's cut the fares, and that there hadn't been a balanced plan to do that. So the GLC went back to the drawing board and then presented another fares scheme, and I think the fares were about 40 pence rather than the 20 pence. So we got cheaper fares, and to me, cheaper fares are always a good thing, because somewhere like London, I mean, you can move around so easy, and you can go so many different places in London because we've got the Underground, we've got the Docklands, we've got all sorts of things. Anyway, that's enough of these ramblings. I'm going to have a listen to them, and if you're hearing them, although they're ramblings and some of them may be incoherent, it means that I feel they deserve an airing on YouTube. And no comments this time about Doge wearing out the carpets at Kent County Hall. And even if they did that, well, they've cost us more in council tax. Anyway, that's Chris Town. That's my current thoughts on what's going on, and goodbye for now.